Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We'll call the August 5th, 2020 meeting of the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Commission to order. Because the meetings are currently being held in remotely, try that again. Because meetings are being remotely the printed word is my enemy today. Because meetings are currently being held remotely, options for comment include, there, we do it. Comments may be emailed to publiccomments@shra.org, and they will be read into the recording during the meeting. Attendees who join the webinar using Zoom can use the raise hand feature in Zoom when promoted or prompted by the chair, and they will be recognized accordingly. Attendees who join the webinar via phone numbers will be called on by the chair, and the option to give public comment will be offered. We request all commissioners and staff participants to keep microphones muted unless they're speaking. And also due to the fact we're using Zoom for the meetings, we'll ask for comments from each member on each item or group of items after the staff presentation. I would appreciate those that want to be heard also to use the raise hand feature, and I'll go to those first. Okay, Vicki, roll call, please.
Alpley.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Nunley.
Here.
Osmany.
Here.
Stajabu.
Here.
And Commissioner Wu.
Here.
And you do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Items 5 and 6 will be presented together and voted on together. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Seeing no raised hands, no one waving, the agenda is set as printed. Citizens' comments. Be the first item. Anyone interested in submitting public comments can email public comments at shra.org or raise your hand on Zoom. And with that, Vicki, could you read the citizens' comment script, please?
Certainly. While the Commission welcomes and encourages participation in the Commission meetings, please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. SHRA provides opportunities for the public to address the Commission at this time in order to listen to opinions regarding non-agendized matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of SHRA. Consistent with the Brown Act, the public comment period on the agenda is not intended to be a question and answer period or a conversation with a Commission member. Members of the public with questions are encouraged to contact staff before or after the meeting. Members of the public wishing to provide comment, as the chair mentioned, should either email comments to publiccomments@shra.org, or you may also join via Zoom or use one of the telephone numbers on the front of the agenda.
All right, thank you, Vicki. So, approval of the minutes. Is there any public comment?
I do not have any public comment.
Okay, and there are no hands raised and no guests signal. So, approval of the minutes. Is there any corrections to the minutes by any of the commissioners? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. And that will take us to consent calendar. I'll accept a motion on consent.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alkali, a second by Wu. Vicki, roll call, please.
Alpley.
Yes.
Morgan.
Aye.
Nunley.
Aye.
Osmany.
Aye.
Stajabu. And Commissioner Wu.
Your mic is muted, Daryl.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Vicki, did we need to read the titles into the record?
Sure, I can do that. The consent calendar consisted of the State Emergency Solutions Grant report. Item 2, participation in the renewal of the Stockton Boulevard Property and Business Improvement District for the city. And item 3, participation in the renewal of the Stockton Boulevard Property and Business Improvement District in the county.
Thank you. That'll take us to business and discussion. Item 4 is the 2020 mid-year revision for the Housing Authority of the City and County of Sacramento to the Public Housing Agency Annual Plan, Admissions and Continued Occupancy Policy and Administrative Plan. We have a staff presentation.
Good evening, Chair Morgan and members of the Commission. Maria Dallas, Management Analyst for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. At the last Commission meeting on July 15, 2020, we presented the 2020 Mid-Year PHA Plan and HCV Administrative Plan documents and held a public hearing which ended the public comment period. We received a letter of support from the Sacramento Resident Advisory Board and comments from Legal Services of Northern California on July 15th. Legal Services proposed the following recommendations. Reducing the minimum rent to zero due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We accepted their recommendation and have reduced the minimum rent to zero for public housing and the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Legal Services recommended creating flexible guest policies for families who need to temporarily house other family members due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We accepted their recommendation and have made the following changes. In the ACOP and the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, we have added, if the family has mitigating circumstances, a family can request in writing for a visitor to stay over 30 days, up to 60 days, once either the management or landlord has approved the request. Legal Services has recommended, to the extent that there are any potential waivers that would increase protections to participants or residents, they ask SHRA to implement those waivers as well. The Public Housing Authority, the HCV Department, and Public Housing agrees with this comment and has implemented CARES Act waivers to assist applicants and participants on the program. Documentation of implemented waivers is posted on the SHRA website at www.shra.org in the COVID-19 response section. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. So I'll take a motion to, actually, is there any questions first? I think we actually covered the questions last time, but seeing no hands up, no unmuted mics. Is there any public comment on this, Vicki?
There is no public comment.
Okay, cool. I'll take a motion then.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Daryl.
Second.
Second by Cecile. All right, thank you. Vicki, roll call.
Alcalay,
Aye. Yes.
Morgan,
Aye.
Osmany,
Aye.
Nunley,
Aye.
Sajabu,
Aye.
and Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
My motion carries.
All right, thank you. That brings us to items 5 and 6. Vicki, could you read the titles?
Items 5 and 6 are approval of the Home Key Program application for the city and county.
All right, and we have a staff presentation.
Yes, good evening. Well, I'll wait till my picture gets up there. It's Christine Weikert. Well, I'm sort of in your box, from Development Finance. And on July 16th, the State Department of Housing and Community Development announced $550 million would be available through the Home Key program. The program provides funding to local governments to convert motels or other non-residential structures into permanent supportive housing for homeless. The Home Key program is funded with federal coronavirus relief funds, which must be spent by December 30th, and the application for these funds are due to the state next week. SHRA is proposing to submit 2 applications, one for a motel acquisition in the city of Sacramento and another for a motel acquisition in the unincorporated county. It is anticipated that the motel rooms will almost immediately serve as housing. We will seek funding for the Home Key project to cover costs such as acquisition, very minimal rehabilitation, and a portion of the operating costs. The program is very competitive, and staff has been working hard to identify motels that are not only for sale, but are of the size and location to meet the scoring requirements of the program. We are close to finalizing which motels will be included in our applications, but continue to do our due diligence. Today, we're seeking approval of resolutions which will allow us to submit the applications for funding. If our applications are successful, we will return with reports identifying the locations of the motels and complete funding and operation plans for approval. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions of commissioners?
I'm sorry, I have a question. I can't find my hand right now.
That's okay, Michael, go ahead.
So we got that letter today from the River District, and they're saying in their letter that that you've identified a hotel in that district and that they claim it's for purchase, that you're purchasing it.
Did you want me to go ahead and read the letter into the record so that everybody can hear what they're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody received it, right?
Yes,
Right,
let's
but I
go
mean-
ahead and read it into the,
Yeah.
Okay,
stand by, Michael.
are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so this is dated today. Dear Sir and Madams, River District has become aware that Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment is applying for funding to facilitate the purchase of a hotel in the River District. It is our understanding that the hotel would then be converted to short-term transitional homeless shelter housing and eventually a combination of transitional shelter housing and permanent supportive workforce housing. While the River District agrees that housing the homeless is critical, we simply cannot be the location choice for this project. We want to be clear that we are not crying NIMBY. As you all will know, the River District has long been home to multiple social service agencies, shelters, both private and public, permanent supportive housing, soup kitchens, and a large population of homeless individuals. In fact, we have the largest concentration of social service providers, shelter beds, and homeless individuals in the region. Our efforts to accomplish economic development, business development, or neighborhood development have been greatly impacted over the years due to the homeless population that gathers in the area on a daily basis. We continually fight to overcome the homeless district as our identity signature. This project is yet one more example. We have the lion's share of shelter beds, social and other homeless services for the region. And because of that, our homeless population continues to grow. The homeless come because the services are here. The services want to locate here because the homeless population is here. It is a vicious cycle, and the issue of homelessness in the River District has reached a crisis stage. On behalf of the business and property owners located in our area, I'm asking you to choose another hotel in another location outside of the River District. During my discussions with Mr. Tyrone Williams early this week, I was told this project would be different because SHRA was involved. This type of promise, excuse me, is not new to the River District. Over the years, multiple plans have been introduced, each offering promise of solutions, each saying their project would be different because they were involved. All have reported progress and success in housing homeless individuals. Sadly, the successes are not evident in the River District. As these programs report success, the River District has seen the homeless population explode. Quite simply, we do not believe this project will be different, and we have no appetite to support it. The River District has worked with local governments and social service agencies for years to address the unique situation in this area. We have accepted additional services. We have accepted expansion of services, all with the hope and promise that this one more thing would help us find success. We understand that the challenge of homelessness has extended into all parts of the region, but no other neighborhood is experiencing the impacts in the River District. While we took on more, other areas of the region suggested that their homeless should be sent to the area where the services are located and refused to take any responsibility for the regional problem. This condition cannot continue unchecked, and the River District believes this project, while important, cannot be located in the River District. With almost 500 shelter beds, 60 units of permanent supportive housing, and a 172 room hotel currently acting as a COVID shelter located in the River District, we believe that we should be seeing fewer people on our streets, yet our experience is just the opposite. Based on our experience, we find it very hard to support adding 272 more rooms that will almost certainly be filled quickly by low-hanging fruit, not from our streets. Sadly, our experience has shown us that we will not benefit from projects such as this, and accordingly, on behalf of the 183 property owners and 342 businesses providing 5,847 jobs, we vigorously oppose any further homeless or social services, including the project on your agenda for tonight, being added to the 1.25 square miles that make up the River District. We have more than our share already. Respectfully, Jenna Abbott, Executive Director of the River District. And I also had a second comment from Ernie Gallardo from Meadows Asset Management, who basically seconded everything that she said, that the first letter said.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. Okay, Michael, go ahead. You're still muted though.
So is that a true statement?
Well, as I said in my presentation, we are still doing our due diligence on a few motels. There is a motel on the river in the River District that was on that list, and there was a conversation earlier this week with the River District to make sure they were aware that we were looking at a motel there. I would say that most of the commissioners, many of you have been on our commission for a long time, and you're very familiar with what we did at Capitol Park, which was to assist Mercy in acquiring that building last year. It has operated a homeless shelter for a year with great success, and it will be now turned into, as of the fall, all the financing will be together, and Mercy will start the total reconstruction of that building into permanent supportive housing. Again, the downtown partnership was very pleased with how that was run. I think most of the commissioners are familiar with Courtyard Inn, which was a very troubled motel at Watt and I-80. And that was just recently totally redone and looks great. And now it does have formerly homeless and it looks great. So if this were the motel we were to pursue, I think it could be just like those two projects, very, very successful. But we would still need to work closely with the River District. We've asked to reach out and have the developer and SHRA meet with the board, and we're hopeful that will happen soon.
So I still have the floor, right, Mr. Morgan? Okay, so that wasn't my question, but I know we do exceptional projects, so I have no qualm there. This vote is purely on authorizing the resolution to apply for the grant with no attachment to any other properties, correct?
At this time, we're just asking for a resolution to.
So yeah, yes, right? That's,
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you select properties, and will that come back before the commission?
Absolutely, we'll be back if we're successful with the motels.
So that letter really has no bearing on this grant application.
Well, I think in all, just to be, as candid as possible, that this is one of the hotels that we are narrowing in on for the application. The application is due on Thursday, a week from tomorrow. Today. This is the hotel that we are currently working actively to prepare the application for. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear.
So then what I'm hearing, because there was no mention of the hotel in the write-up.
At the time that we actually put together the staff report and went forward, we just, hadn't made it that far down in the process to really zero in on one versus another, and now we are.
Okay, so when we submit the application, we have to submit the name of the property that we are purchasing?
And well, we will be working in concert with a developer.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around this.
That is correct. Yes.
So when we submit the application, it will be
okay. I can't hear anybody, so let me see
we can hear
what is going on.
But then you'll come back again to the commission and say, okay, here is a property we selected. Do you approve?
No, we will actually go before council next Tuesday. And then if they give us authorization, we would submit that application to the state. And then it's competitive, as Christine mentioned. If the project is selected, then we must come back and get all of the approvals,
including the authority to purchase, do all of that.
Mm-hmm. But I really just want to make it clear that what Jenna says here is accurate information. There is nothing that is inaccurate in terms of the factual pieces of the work that we have been doing at SHRA.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I've got a comment if there aren't. I see Cecile has her hand up.
Yeah, so I just want to follow up in what Michael was just asking. So do I have it correct that it's up to 10.2 million is but you're looking for authorization from us and eventually the city and the county for, but it will be, each individual project could be slightly smaller. And as those individual projects come up, that's when you go for your final approval. Is that how it works?
So we're actually going to submit two applications, one for the city and one for the county. The city's application is for 10.2 million. That's sort of the maximum we can apply for without having to trigger matching funds.
Okay.
And for the city, it's 11.2 million. I'm sorry, if the county is 11.2 and the city's 10.2. Did I get that wrong?
Yeah.
So there's two applications. Our jurisdiction, Sacramento, is in a competes in a regional jurisdiction for these funds. This includes all the surrounding counties that you're, of El Dorado, Placer, Yolo, Yuba, all those kind of counties. There's $25 million max for our region. So between our two applications, we are almost asking for that, but we are aware that there are other cities and counties that will likely be putting in applications as well. So, I mean, we're hopeful maybe they'll both be approved and we'll get funding for both our city and county projects, but there is a chance that one or both will not be funded. But if they are funded, it is absolutely true. We need to come back and get all authorizations and really lay out the entire project and projects for you and the other governing bodies.
Okay. I noticed, okay, I think I'm looking at the city one, and it talked about your partner was Jamboree. Is that it?
That's
Jamboree
correct.
Housing Corporation. And they are right now, they're the owner of the Hotel Berry in downtown Sacramento, it says. And I wasn't familiar. Where is Hotel Berry?
7th and L.
7th and it. Is that the one that's the Mercy?
No, that's we worked with Jamboree to rehab that. It was an SRO before, and was in very, very poor condition. And I want to say it was about a little over 10, it was over 10 years ago now, about 10 years ago. Maybe it was finished maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, but we started it over 10 years ago. We put a lot of money into that. Jamboree did a great job in rehabilitating it. It runs very well today, and it's a great project.
Okay. I think I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Okay. And Jasmine, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what are some of the factors that were being considered in looking at which motels you guys were going to go through with the application with?
Right. So there were a lot of factors. Unless, Michelle, would you like me to? Okay. First of all, we have to receive a maximum point score to be successful, and being over 100 rooms or being able to create 100 new units was one of the main factors. So we were looking at larger motels. Second of all, it has to be have transportation, it was a factor, grocery stores, libraries, all sort of pharmacies. So you have to look at your service area and is it being served and are amenities close enough? And then also, they really want you can do one of two things. You could do a shelter for a short time and then create permanent housing for 55 years, or you go right to permanent housing. And in either case, we realized, well, we would be applying for the acquisition dollars. If we wanted to make their deadline of actually occupying these buildings in 90 days with people, they really needed bathrooms, they needed kitchens. It couldn't be an extensive rehab. So the building condition really played a factor in the motels. And we did an extensive search. And like I said, we are narrowing down, like I said in my presentation, and this is definitely the one in the city that looks very like we're going to do. But it's been just a hard couple of weeks for us to do that. We started about a month ago or a little more, but it's just been in the last few days, weeks that we've narrowed it down.
And just to add, we are on an extremely tight deadline in terms of making this application and being successful with the state. There's, like as Christine said, 25 million for our particular region. Priority is given to those that make it into this deadline. So we are working very, very hard, and we have to have a willing seller and a motel that is available to occupy in a very short period of time. So once this deal closes, we only have 90 days where people have to be moving into that particular thing. And that is unheard of. Most of our real estate transactions to do a project of this nature usually take us 2 to 3 years to really bring all the pieces together, all the financing together. And we're compressing all of that into a matter of weeks. But what I am proud of SHRA is that we are able to really deliver and come up with some really great projects that we will present before the state to use those funds.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I cannot put your hand down, Jasmine. I'm not co-host tonight. So there. So I have one comment and regarding the letter that was sent to us. Am I to suppose that they would rather have a vacant building in their neighborhood than to have something that was being useful and functional? I think that would draw their property values down more than having a homeless shelter in their neighborhood. It's just my thought, and especially if it's converted into a permanent supportive housing type of program, that'd be much better than having a hotel that sits empty for 10 years or something. Anyway, that's my comment. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, and we already had our public comment. So with that, I will take a motion.
Move to approve to, Stajabu has it.
Okay. We have a motion from Stajabu and a second from Michael. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. Vicki, roll call, please.
Alcalay,
Aye, yes.
Morgan.
Aye.
Osmany,
Aye.
Nunley,
Aye.
Jabu,
Aye.
Starks,
Yes.
and Wu. Commissioner Wu still on?
Yes, he waved yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to presentations. Thank you, Vicki. First presentation will be, I always mess it up, but I'm going to say Marisol Village Update.
That was perfect.
Perfect. Good evening, members of the commission. I'm Victoria Johnson, the Assistant Director of Development here at SHRA. I'm making a brief presentation on the progress, the tremendous progress that we've made recently, and a little bit of forward looking on the Marisol Village project. I hope every one of you has been up and down either Richards or 12th Street to see how much work is going on out there every day now. Can I slide down? Yes, thank you. Just to refresh our memory on the site itself, there are 5 residential blocks that will be redeveloped. The original site included 218 units. The redeveloped site will include 427 units, laid out as you see here on the site plan. That's 12th Street at the bottom of the map and Richards at the left-hand top of the map. The block A at the left-hand top side is the location of the community center, the main office building, the leasing office, the swimming pool, the computer lab, the car share. So that will be the anchor building. And then the residential units will be distributed throughout. And there will be a beautiful new 1.1 acre public park in the very center of the community. That park will be developed by SHRA. It's under construction right now. And it will be eventually transferred to the city of Sacramento, who will maintain it. It is not shown on the map, but the upper right-hand corner, it's white space on the map, will actually be the Marisol Village Community Garden. And similarly, that will be developed by SHRA staff and then turned over to the city to operate a community garden. And the blocks are A, B, C, D, E. You'll see on this next slide, I make reference to those blocks. This is a rendering of the corner of Richards and Dos Rios. So 1200 Richards will be the address of this main building. This building has residential units above 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. And the first story will include all the office space, common area,
the resident services offices, and other amenities for the tenants. Over the past few months, in the past year, a lot has happened. In February, we started the actual underground construction. In April, we received a tax credit award for Block A. That was a really heavy lift. We had to apply several times, but we were successful in April. Also in April, I put this on the achievements because we were able to convert to Zoom, and not just Zoom, but just virtual in general. And we really haven't skipped a beat, which I am every day surprised and every day thankful that all of our partners just moved straight from in-person to virtual, from our city partners, RT, our lenders, our developer partner, across the board, our resident services. And it's really been remarkable, just a stroke of grace so far. No one is delayed, no one is backing out. We are just virtual and it's working. In May, 2 months ago, we executed green infrastructure grant agreement. I had brought that to you a few months ago when we had the verbal okay, but we actually executed the agreement. In May, we also executed the TCC grant agreement. And that too, we've been talking about forever, but we finally executed. And to put some dollars behind those, the green infrastructure grant is $1.8 million to build the park. And the TCC grant agreement is $23 million, the bulk of which is going to develop the new light rail station. In June 2020, we closed financing on blocks B and E. That is the beginning of the residential construction. It includes 123 units of different sizes and types, including 69 replacement units for former Twin Rivers residents to move back in. And then in July, super exciting, on July 1st, we were awarded an MHP loan, but it's like a grant, it's a soft loan of about $15 million for Block C. So that too was a huge milestone. We have now almost funded Block A, B, C, and E, with only Block D remaining to be funded. So we've really had a lot of luck in these past few months. Looking ahead, in September 2020, we're going to have a virtual groundbreaking. More news on that will be coming to you soon through Angela Jones. In October 2020, we're going to be starting construction on the next phase, which is Block A. In November, we are scheduled to complete the infrastructure contract. In February of next year, early next year, we will be starting the park and garden construction. Those plans have been submitted, the partial plans, the 35% plans have been reviewed by the city. We're now working on the 75% plans, and that'll work its way through the bid process and we'll start early next year. In January also, we intend to apply for bonds and tax credits for Block C. Although the MHP award was the big event to allow us to fill all the gap funding, we still need to obtain tax credits and bonds. And then by the end of next year, people will be moving in to Blocks B and E. The park and garden will be completed and we will have started Block C construction. So that's a busy year. And then just some quick reminders about the neighborhood and all the stuff that's going on in addition to the residential construction. The light rail station design is now 65% complete. Construction will start with track realignment on 12th Street. You can look forward to traffic delays on 12th Street when that happens, and that will happen sometime in 2021. The Neighborhoods project is the planting of nearly 1,000 trees. Originally, we had about 700 trees in our planning, but we realized that we actually have over 1,000 trees, and we will be chomping away at even more greenhouse gases than we originally anticipated. The community garden, the preliminary plans have been developed and reviewed by the city, and we're now about 50% at the construction drawing, for the construction drawings. The Block A housing development and solar installation is another TCC funded project. And then we've just now finalized a workforce development MOU with SAC-RT. We are promising to create at least 50 jobs during the duration of the RT station. Again, a quick on the city project, Salvation Army, you're familiar with that site. We did extensive improvements. We created a new patio, a shade structure, repairs to the fence. That was with our Choice Neighborhoods grant, we were a partner in that. The city's working on 12th Street, new bike lane, new sidewalks, new bus stops on Sunbeam. We have a art project, a committee of people, dedicated committee working on various art planning, murals, and improvements along 12th Street. There will be a new multi-sports court at D and 11th that the city is going to be constructing. Our Choice Neighborhoods funds were used to purchase the site. And then there'll be 2 new bus shelters and Route 11 service expansion coming in 2022. So the next 2 slides are related to our resident services component, and our partner from Urban Strategies, Kevin Daniel, is with us this evening to present those to you and to answer any questions about the resident services. But before I turn it over to Kevin, I wanted to ask if you have any questions for me.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Seeing no hands, seeing nobody waving their hands, I'm going to ask one. Can we have this PowerPoint emailed to each of us?
Yes, absolutely. I will turn to Vicki to share that with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
People are asking me questions about this, and have that timeline would be awesome.
Great.
All right. We'll go ahead with Kevin then.
All right. I'm going to briefly share with you some work we've been doing with the residents this year. As you know, one of our key components is economic mobility. If you look at that, the graph, you know, back at the end of 2016, we had about 36% of our residents were employed. And as you can see, the number has steadily risen. And as we've entered in the end of 2019, we're at 59%. So in January and February, we hit that 60% mark. And you can look at the numbers, you can see with the COVID that we've pretty much matched the country. Once COVID hit, some of those numbers went down, then they started to rise again. And as the numbers for COVID began to surge, our employment numbers is going down again. But I want to talk about that 60% mark. That was an important mark for us to reach. One of the things we find out with USI throughout the country and in multiple cities, once we get that employment rate up to 60%, it levels off throughout the country. And no matter what you do, the number just stays the same. So one of the things that we've been able to do is just start looking at the data and see what does the data show us, and how do we get beyond that 6%, working at that 40% that are tough. And what we find out is with that 40%, we find out things like, for example, with Marisol Village, 28% of the residents do not have a high school diploma. And you will see a heavy amount of those in that 40%. Also, you may see single moms with multiple young children in that percentile, as well as people dealing with mental health. So one thing we realized that the traditional strategies that got us to 60% aren't effective with the other 40%. So we were just hitting that 60%, so we began to use some of our new strategies to begin to deal with some of those other things. We realized the new strategy just focuses on some of the other issues. And once you deal with those other issues, we're able to move those numbers up beyond 60%. Next slide. All right. So this year's been dominated with COVID. So I definitely want to talk about COVID. I won't read this whole slide, but I'm going to really focus on our actions, our strategy, and some of our results. So within the second week when the COVID broke out and we're shut in, we began to develop a survey for our residents. And the whole idea was to each week take a snapshot, a point in time snapshot of our residents and just collect some key data. So one of the things we was able to do, we was able to really get surveys from 75% of the residents during this time. And our goal at that point was really to make sure our families were stable during the pandemic. And as you can kind of see from some of the numbers, we was able to really begin to address some of the basic needs, some of the food shortages, whether we were just directing the residents to places to go for food, the list of all the schools that had food, the food banks, and some of our residents that had transportation issues and our seniors, we would actually go out and deliver boxes of food. We did this, and we're still doing this now. We're doing this from the beginning and up to now. And you can see as some of the numbers that we've been able to really make sure those families are stable. One of the other big things is school. All of a sudden what happened is we went from 26% of our schools doing remote learning to 96%. So that was a lot of work to work with those parents. And one of the biggest things was making sure that the parents had access to internet and more importantly, had access to computers. So we were able to coordinate with our parents, with the school districts, and we was able to make sure that 100% of the residents who had children was able to get laptops and was able to get internet access. And even with that, we was able to start providing things like tutoring for those families as well. And this right here now is one of the big pushes going forward, because as we all know that starting the school year, our students are still going to be remote learning. And what we did find out with these numbers also is that some of our parents did struggle. So we are putting in new strategies to make sure that we prepare our parents, helping them out with things like setting schedules for their students. Like I said, we've increased the mobile tutors. So we're working right now really to make sure that we continue to support our families during this COVID and get them from the being stable to thriving again. With that, I'll open up for any questions.
Any questions of commissioners?
Question. Kevin, excellent report. And I want to thank you and SHRA for everything, because this is one of the most scariest things about the COVID is the numbers you just reported. So it's great to see that they're up as high as they are. I know that's through June. How do you suspect July and the first part of August is doing?
So because we're starting to see the surge right now, about June, we backed away from the surveys. But now we've gone out and we started doing the surveys again. So we're going to be looking at new strategies. The good thing is with things like the pandemic EBT and other things that's been in place, we've been able to make sure the food issues are in place. And even with things like it was a real issue with the disinfectants and the cleaning supplies. When things settled out, we really came up with plans with our residents to go out and purchase those things while they're in the stores, because we really struggled with that. We had to order things outside of the state and send it to our residents during that. So we will be looking at what's going to be the next set of strategies going forward because of the surge.
Well, thank you, and keep up the really amazing work. Thank you.
Any other questions? Sajabu. Go ahead and unmute.
What do you attribute your success in raising the numbers of people able to connect with the internet?
So we have an education specialist, and her focus was really working with our youth in education. So we have right now, with our residents relocated, our residents are relocated over 7 school districts. She was able to work with each school district and be a liaison to all the parents. So we had the parents spread out in zones by school districts, and she really did a great job of just keeping the parents informed. And then when the schools had a process in place for internet or for laptops, she literally hand walked the parents through the process. Going on to the online application, they didn't have internet, we would sit with them and do it ourselves. So we really worked hand in hand with those parents to make sure that the process was manageable and that we removed as many barriers as we could.
Congratulations, that's really important. Thank you.
Hey, Gail.
Yes, sir.
So, there is a thought that people who were low income, who might not have had jobs prior to COVID, might not be so impacted by COVID. I want Kevin to speak to the idea of this kind of traditional low income, and how is it impacted or not COVID, as opposed to those folks who might be 1 or 2 paychecks away, but might not be low income enough to get into our facilities. Can you speak just to that, Kevin? I'll mute it.
Yeah, so you make a great point. So there are the parents who are already at home, maybe not working. They weren't teaching their children. Having to teach your children was one of the biggest stressors on parents. And now I mentioned earlier that 28% of the parents don't have a high school diploma or GED. So now you're taking someone who's uneducated and they're being forced to educate their children. So a lot of stress. And then you're talking about 58% of our population have chronic health issues. So the threat for them catching COVID, there was a lot of pressure on that as well. So our parents did receive a lot of stress. Then you also dealing with just transportation. So people were afraid to take the buses, and and some of the people didn't have transportation. So that was another stressor that was added on. So even those who didn't have jobs, the stress that added to this was greatly put on the residents.
Okay.
Can I follow up with that? Just one point about the multi-generational. You've heard that the impacts of multi-generational, especially among the low income. And, you know, kids will go to school, they'll come back and give grandma COVID. And maybe just a couple of minutes on that, Kevin, or a second, or whatever you want to speak to.
I would just say for our case managers, our goal was to help homes with strategies. You know, what's the strategy if you're in a multi-generational house? And that's what we really worked on, helping the parents come up with a strategy for those young people coming in and out the house. In some cases, the young person actually left the home, went somewhere else during that time. So for us, it was really just helping them come up with some kind of strategy for their health and their safety. And we also sent out quite a bit of information to those families with talking points for how to deal with COVID and safe practices as well.
All right. Any other questions? And I can't see everybody on my screen right now, so nobody's unmuted there. So any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will go on to item number 8.
I just really wanted to say to Kevin before you log off, how much we really appreciate the partnership that we have enjoyed with Urban Strategies. They have done an outstanding job of keeping our families connected and making sure that they're taken care of while they are what we call temporarily out of their units. On that whole timeline that Victoria shared with you, the thing that just made my heart dance was the first residents returning in 2021. And that will just be the realization of so much hard work and effort, but making sure that our residents have the opportunity to return, if they so choose, to brand new housing is just incredible and very exciting. So, because that's what this whole project is about. It's not about, you know, the buildings and the trees and all that other stuff. Is to provide an opportunity for those who have been traditionally left behind and overlooked. So thank you to Kevin and Urban Strategies, and also a great big thanks to Victoria and her team. I mean, they're just tireless in making this project really happen. So just want to get that out there.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that we'll get an invite to the initial grand opening, Lachelle.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So that will take us to the next presentation, which is the rental assistance demonstration update.
Okay. So we have Seth Hawkins will be giving us an update on our rental assistance demonstration, one that we've been working on now for a year. I tell you. That's lightning speed compared to some other things. It doesn't feel like it, but it is.
Okay. Good evening, Chair and members of the Board Commission. My name is Seth Hawkins, and I'm a project manager. And tonight I'm presenting the Rental Assistance Demonstration Project Update, RAD. RAD was created in order to give public housing authorities a tool to preserve and improve public housing properties and address the $26 billion nationwide backlog of deferred maintenance. RAD provides PHAs the opportunities to test the conversion of public housing and other HUD-assisted properties to long-term project-based Section 8 rental assistance, which preserves and improves properties by enabling the access of PHA by PHAs and owners and private and public debt to, owners to receive private and public debt in equity to address immediate and long-term capital needs. RAD is also designed to test the extent which residents have increased housing choices after the conversion and overall impact of the subject properties. RAD pilot is scattered site. Sorry, I had to take off my glasses. RAD pilot consisted of the scattered sites of 124 units at 6 properties within the city and county of Sacramento. There were 38 in the Housing Authority of the city and 86 in the Housing Authority of the county, located on 6 parcels of land. Okay. So I ruined the surprise. So the project closed on July 17th and construction began on July 21st. So we're so excited, yay. The current construction schedule includes, we're starting with the Perry Avenue property, which is 10 units. It started on July 21st. We're in a 3rd week as of today. And the construction completion will be in May, late May, May 21st. No.
Perry's done in August.
August, yes. Perry's, yes, the scheduled completion of construction at Perry will be August 27th. We have Folsom, which will be the next project. It's 10 units from August 28th to September 28th. And then we have 43rd, which will be in September. And since it's 28 units, it'll be a little longer from September, the end of September to the beginning or middle of December. We also have Elk Grove going along at the same time in November, and that will be going to January 8th at this point. And then we have El Paraiso that will start in January and go to March. Willerga will be in March to May, and then hopefully we'll make sure that we have the completion in the end of May. So here's the construction. Prior to construction, there's the photos of Perry before they started construction. And then in week 1 construction, you can see as they took down the walls and the exposure of the kitchen, there's no more cabinets. And now we're in week 2, which was last week, where they started to put the roof and the siding on as part of the construction. Some of the rehabilitation for the property will include new flooring, roofing, smoke and CO detectors, hardware for the doors and new doors, and converting one of the laundry rooms to a DVR room. They will be replacing plywood on the siding and new stucco, windows, HVAC systems, water heaters, interior and exterior lighting, kitchen ranges, range hoods, plumbing fixtures, which include water saving fixtures, shower surrounds, countertops, exterior doors, exterior and interior paint, parking lot repairs, and correcting site drainage issues. The proposed timeline for RAD 2, which will be Central City Phase 1, Edgewater and Capitol Terrace. Pre-construction is starting now through the rest of the year to May 2021. Then we have our financial plan and development and starting in now as we move forward. And we're expecting to put in a low-income housing tax credit application in January. And completion of our financial partners and due diligence items in May, and hopefully closing in April to July of next year. Construction is to start in August 2021 till October. And then Central City Phase 2 will include Big Trees, Comstock, and Pine Knolls. And that's starting the pre-construction in January of next year, and the financing plan of January to July of 2022. We also will be applying for the low-income tax credits in July 2022 and doing our due diligence in May 2022. And hoping to close that project in August 2022 and construction to begin in November of 2022. This concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
All right, any questions from commissioners? Sam?
Well, it's probably rhetorical because I know Suzette, you guys are working with SMUD. I see Lachelle and Suzette, I know you guys, I'm sure, are working with SMUD to optimize, to make energy efficient, to reap all the love that SMUD has to give. Okay, you can say something if you want to, but other than that, I just see your faces and I got the answer.
Yes.
SMUD has been an incredible partner.
Yes.
And we are very, very delighted with their support on all of these projects.
Yes.
That sounded like shameless self-promotion there, Sam.
A little bit. Mary, stop laughing. I got everybody.
Okay, any other comments? I don't see any hands up. Suzette, I have a question, as long as nobody else is jumping in. Where does Riverview Plaza fit in with that schedule?
Riverview Plaza is also a part of that first phase that we have for construction, the next phase for Central City 1.
Right, and
yes.
So because Riverview Plaza is not public housing, we are working on a financing plan for that as well as we speak. It just doesn't show up under RAD because it's not public housing. But I think we're looking at the financing to go.
We're submitting a, sorry, I can jump in here.
Okay.
Hi, Commission. This is Mark Hamilton, Assistant Director for Public Housing. So for Riverview Plaza, we're actually running concurrent with Central City Phase 1, where we're submitting a bond application during the same round as Central City Phase 1. So we're looking to put in that application in January of 2021.
I realize it's not public housing, but I wanted the input there anyway.
No, that was an excellent question, so that people understand that it is not something that we've forgotten. We're just running it concurrently with the RAD program and working very, very hard to do the renovations. It's in need of it.
It's the advantage of knowing what's going on in the background here.
Yeah. Well, as you can see from the pictures, though, which really show you the extent of the work that we're doing on these units, we have not been able to get in and do this level of renovation on the interiors in as long as I can recall. So to be able to gut those kitchens and put in new flooring and kitchens and sidings and roofs, this is really going to put us in good stead for a very, very long time. And it'd be great for our residents.
Yeah, I was surprised at the level of tear down on those. And you're moving at a quick pace with that much construction.
Yeah, we're averaging about 30 to 45 days per phase, and we're being really aggressive with the construction. Our partner, our general contractor, is doing a great job as far as like tearing down. And one of the benefits is that C&W, which is the general contractor, they self-perform a lot of work, so they're able to get in there and move really quickly through the construction process. So we're really excited to return these homes back to our residents and have them move back into their refurbished homes.
I have a background in construction, so that was impressive to me when I looked at it. I've seen those pictures thousands of times. That stage of construction, I got a clue. And so it was impressive. So good job for C&W also. Okay, any other questions? Don't see any. Okay, that will take us to the executive director's report then.
Okay. I just have a very brief report, just to remind you that our next commission meeting is scheduled for August 19th, which will be our virtual tour. So we're really excited to really bring to you virtually a lot of the work that has been going on, that SHRA has been working very, very hard, and it's coming to fruition. But obviously during this, environment, we can't get out and take a look, but we can actually bring it to you. So please make sure to be here next 2 weeks from today.
Is Watt and I-80 going to be in on that tour?
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
You're talking Courtyard Inn?
Yes.
Yes. I see Vicky saying yes, yes.
My brain had the location, but I couldn't think of the name. Courtyard.
Yes, Courtyard Inn, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Have you had a chance to go by there lately? It looks absolutely
Yes.
gorgeous.
I go by 12th and Richards and Watt and I-80 quite a bit. So always looking.
Mm-hmm.
See no hands, see nobody waving their hands. That takes us, yes, Jabu. Unmute.
That's like the slogan for 2020.
There.
Are we at commissioners' comments yet?
We're right ahead of that.
Okay, that's what I have a comment.
Okay. What I was going to say before we get there is that we really don't have a commission chair report tonight. With that, we're open with questions and comments of commissioners. Sujabu.
Okay, I want to commend Sarah O'Daniel. I listened to her on KDEE today. She was representing SHRA in their outreach to homeowners to be a part of the voucher program. And she did a fantastic job, very professional. I was very proud of her. Congratulations, Sarah.
Sarah's on the line and she can hear you. She's currently muted, but yes, she did an absolutely fantastic job today. There she is. There's Sarah.
There she is.
Yes. And we're so proud of her, but really wanting to make sure that we get the word out to the landlords about the incentive programs and the opportunity to provide more housing for people out there. Sarah, I don't know if you really wanted to add anything else about your speaking engagement today.
Thank you very much, Stajabu. I appreciate you first listening and for your compliments. I think there was a lot of interest from a lot of people. There were a lot of calls that came in. It was a 1 hour segment. And so, I'm very hopeful that we will get some additional landlords to sign up for the program, because we really have a very short period of time to expend the money. And so I'm very hopeful. So thank you very much.
All right, any other comments? Barry, go ahead and unmute.
Hello, everyone. Quick question, flashing back to the last meeting, because I couldn't find the notes. When does construction start on the Coral Gables, which is Meadowview and 24th-ish?
1043 43rd. That was on the slide.
I think he's referring to the Coral Gables project that we have.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about our public housing, correct? You're talking about the one across from the Pinnell Center?
Correct.
Yes, that was came up last commission meeting, and we are going forward to the council. I think we're going next Tuesday on Coral Gables. But in terms of actually seeing construction, they'll move forward. They'll be making their application for tax credit. So construction will begin sometime next year, later next year.
Oh, it's okay. I just couldn't remember. I jumped ahead of the city council meeting. I don't know what I was thinking about. I picked the last 5 hour city council meetings, these last two, and I realized right after I asked the question, wait a minute, they haven't brought that up yet. But anyway, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And my apologies for getting the names mixed up.
Oh, that's it.
I got too many properties in my head. So, anything else?
Well, on behalf of SMUD, as I go shameless again, but we want to thank SHRA for helping get the word out about the fact that we're not disconnecting people because their inability to pay. There are a lot of people who are struggling out there who because of COVID, have lost their jobs, and they're now balancing, do I pay my SMUD bill or do I put food on the table? So SMUD is not disconnecting anyone for non-payment. And so it's one of those things we're trying to get that message out. We're not disconnecting anyone through January 4th of 2021. And so we're saying if you can pay, pay, but if you can't, if you can pay whatever you can pay, pay, but if you can't, call us for payment arrangements. We'll push things back, and they're doing some really crazy things to keep people safe and secure. So those are messages that we appreciate SHRA pushing out to their staff and clients.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Thank
Another
you.
example of great partnership.
Anything else? Seeing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You guys. Thank you, guys.